There are laws that only apply to tourists. You won't see them written anywhere. No sign, no warning, no explanation. And once you break one of them, your trip doesn't slowly go wrong. It's already over. Most people watching this believe they're careful travelers. They don't cause trouble. They respect cultures, they follow rules. That belief is exactly why these laws work. Because they don't target reckless people. They target normal ones. In the next 15 minutes, you're going to hear about mistakes that feel harmless, logical, even polite. Mistakes that have quietly destroyed trips, emptied savings, and placed travelers on lists they never knew existed. Some of these laws won't make sense at first. That's intentional. And by the time we reach the later ones, you'll understand why "I didn't know" has never saved anyone. Before we go further, remember this: nothing bad happens immediately. That's how these laws trap you. Let's start with the one almost everyone underestimates. Most tourists believe respect is emotional. They believe if they didn't mean harm, no harm exists. If they were joking, smiling, curious, the system will understand. In many countries, respect has nothing to do with feelings. It's procedural. It's defined by posture, distance, positioning, and silence. Standing the wrong way near a monument, touching something that looks decorative, posing for a photo without understanding context. Tourists do this constantly, and nothing happens. No police, no confrontation, no reaction at all. That silence feels like permission. It isn't. In many places, enforcement doesn't happen in the moment. It happens later, when the system already has everything it needs. Photos you took, videos you uploaded, footage you never noticed. By the time someone approaches you, the situation is no longer fluid. It's already classified. This is where tourists panic, because they try to explain intent. They apologize. They clarify. They say it was a misunderstanding, but intent was never part of the equation. The law doesn't care what you meant, only what you did. Remember this pattern because it repeats. Now here's where things get worse. Many travelers believe health overrides law, that if something keeps you functional, focused, or calm, it must be allowed everywhere. That belief has ended more trips than theft, scams, or accidents combined. Medication laws are not harmonized globally. They don't recognize foreign prescriptions. They don't care what your doctor said. They only care about classification. A pill that helps you sleep at home can legally be considered a controlled substance somewhere else. And tourists don't find this out online. They find out under fluorescent lights, standing still while someone else decides what happens next. This is why previous travel experience is dangerous. People think, "I've carried this before." They confuse past silence with permission. Customs inspections aren't conversations, they're assessments. Once something crosses a legal line, the interaction changes instantly. The emotional shock here is brutal because it feels unfair. You weren't hiding anything. You weren't lying. But fairness isn't relevant. And even when detention doesn't happen, something else does. Your sense of safety collapses. From that moment on, you're not traveling anymore, you're managing risk. Now keep that feeling in mind because the next mistake feels too small to matter. Almost no tourist considers littering dangerous. They define it morally, throwing trash, being careless. The law defines it mechanically. Dropping something is enough. The size doesn't matter. The time doesn't matter. Your awareness doesn't matter. Tourists often assume someone has to see them, that enforcement requires confrontation. In many cities, it doesn't. Cameras don't need to stop you. They just need to record. And here's the part most people don't understand until it's too late. Consequences don't end when the trip does. Fines can be logged. Records can persist. Systems can remember you longer than you remember them. People assume borders reset everything. They don't. This is where travelers realize the mistake wasn't the action. It was assuming consequences behave the way they do at home. Now, if that feels unsettling, it should, because the next one feels personal. Affection is one of the most misunderstood legal risks for tourists. Holding hands, a kiss, a hug, these feel universal, human. But in some places, public space is regulated with a different priority: order over expression. Tourists expect warnings, they expect discretion. Law enforcement doesn't see itself as a cultural translator. It sees itself as a stabilizer, and stability doesn't require explanation. This is why these interactions feel sudden and humiliating. Because tourists experience them emotionally, systems experience them administratively. At first, nothing happens. And again, that's the trap. Because once it's documented, context disappears. Now let's talk about technology, where logic fails hardest. Drones feel harmless. They look like toys with cameras. The law sees them as aircraft. Airspace is invisible, but it's one of the most aggressively protected things on Earth. Tourist locations are often restricted zones, even without signs. The absence of warning doesn't mean permission exists. It means the rule is assumed. Tourists rely on logic here. Open space, no people. Quick shot? The system doesn't operate on logic. It operates on classification. Once a drone enters restricted airspace, the violation is complete, even if enforcement comes later. And later enforcement feels cruel because cause and effect feel disconnected. But the system never lost the connection. Speech is the next trap. Many travelers assume casual speech is protected the same way everywhere. Jokes, sarcasm, criticism. In some countries, speech laws prioritize authority, harmony, or reputation over expression. Tourists think being foreign offers protection. Often it does the opposite. You're easier to categorize, easier to isolate, easier to act against. I didn't know doesn't translate. Ignorance isn't a defense, it's a liability. By now, a pattern should be forming. None of these mistakes feel dangerous. None of them feel criminal. That's why they work. Tourism lowers defenses. People relax. But systems don't relax when you arrive. They don't care that you're on vacation. They don't adjust expectations. And they don't announce themselves when you cross a line. Most tourists who get into serious trouble say the same thing afterward. They say it felt unreal, sudden, disproportionate. That feeling comes from seeing the system only after it reacts. By the time you notice it, adaptation is no longer possible. The safest travelers are not the bravest or most confident. They are the most observant. They assume rules exist even when they can't see them. They watch before they act. They treat normal behavior as conditional. They don't rely on what feels right. They rely on what appears accepted. Travel doesn't just move your body across borders. It moves you between legal realities. The mistake is believing those realities will explain themselves. They won't. They assume you already know. And when you don't, the lesson is never gentle.